Hello everyone. So I did want to create a video just to highlight a new mod tool that I have released on GitHub and soon will be releasing to the NLSC forum as well. For the past few months, I have been doing some research into the game files for NBA Bounce and have figured out that it is pretty easy to import and export the textures that they have available. So with some help with using Claude code, I have developed a Python GUI interface to be able to make that process a lot easier. Now, going back a few steps, a few months back, I was using this tool that we have here, UEBA, and I was able to see that I can edit and open up the texture files pretty easily, unpacking and unzipping them. So if I go to File and I go to Open, and then I navigate over to my Steam library, Common, and then I go for NBA Bounce, Data. We can see here, for example, as long as I open up an asset file, I'm able to look at some of these files. Now, typically you want to do it just for the textures that are in 2D. Those are kind of the easiest to work with. And we can see this user interface isn't the easiest to navigate, and also you can't see the file until you export it. So we can see here how we have some of those files. So classic logo, for example, if I go to plugin, I can then export the texture as well as I can edit the texture. If I edit the texture, it comes up with these settings here. So doing a little bit more research with this, I was able to export and import textures so I could replace those textures. Now, like I said, it was a little hard working with this because there's no preview window to be able to see what texture you're working with. Thankfully, the naming conventions that they did for NBA Bounce make sense more times than not, but I wanted to develop a better program to be able to do this. So that's where it comes in the NBA Bounce Mod Manager. Now, like I said, this is available to use via GitHub right now, as well as it'll be available on the NLSC forum with a topic post that I will add into the comments, into either the comments or description at a later date. So this is what it looks like if you navigate over to the GitHub link. You'll see some information about what it does. All right, so it's a Windows desktop app for replacing textures in NBA Bounce. Browse, preview, import, and apply custom PNGs without ever touching the hex editor. Some of the features that we have, like I said, you're able to view all the textures. These are the 2D textures only in the game. I have looked into the meshes and such. I don't have as much experience with 3D modeling and using Blender yet, but it is something I'm investigating with this game as well. But for now, this is just strictly with the 2D textures of the game. So you can also search and filter, so you can search by name, so this makes it a lot easier. It also takes all the asset files compared to the program that I showed before. You have to individually load each of those 8 or 10 asset files, so it can get a little tedious. Their names are very similar, so you kind of do forget where what goes. So side-by-side preview, you can export the original textures, you can batch export them, you can import the PNG replacements. I use just Photoshop. You should be able to use any image editing software that you have. You can apply all the mods, you can revert in game, you can restore the original, and then you can import and export. So you can maybe come up with some really cool projects that might hopefully come from this tool being created. So the only requirements is that you have Windows 10 or 11 and you use Python. It needs to be 3.9 or newer, so make sure that is installed on your computer, and obviously having NBA Bounce installed via Steam. Once you do that, you can run the initial setup, and it'll download all the necessary dependencies to be able to create the app. All right, so you can read a little bit more about some of the information and documentation I have posted here as well if you need. So looking at the software, we can see here I created the example just in the NLSC form of replacing the NBA Bounce logo that comes in the main menu as well as the first start screen of the game. So we can see if we go to settings here, we can point to where your folder should be. Now, there is an auto detect game feature, so it does try to look for it. It's not 100% accurate, especially if you put it onto a secondary drive like I have here. So you might need to browse and find out where your game data folder is. And for your mods folder, you need to create that. So make sure that you create that mods folder. There's a light and dark mode as you need, and then you can save and reload. So we can see on save and reload, it scans each of the textures and it loads all of the asset files. It does list 14 different asset files for NBA Bounce. So again, we can kind of see what some of these look like, and if we click through, we can see the jersey, for example, and then any mod that I would have. So we can look at an example here. So let's say I export the original, I then save it. Now if I go to Photoshop, I open it up. I'll make a very small change to it just to see that it applies. So I'll then open up that PNG, select it, and then let's say we change these to white, even though it looked crazy that way. And we can kind of see what that looks like. So then I can hit export, make sure you keep it as a PNG, and the program will do a good job of compressing it to the format that it needs to. I can then click out of here. I can then import in the replacement, and then I can apply all mods, or I can individually apply the mod if I would like. Now it shows you a little progress bar as well, and then you can sort by the mods that you've applied. So if I click on this, I scroll all the way up to the top, it'll show me which mods I have applied to my game. So once I go to boot up my game, we'll see two mods applied. First, the Brooklyn Nets jersey, as well as the NLSC logo instead of the NBA Bounce logo. I do want to do a little more research on how the courts are created. I have some idea about how to replace the textures on the courts, but I do want to do a little more research if I can change the patterns of the courts as well. So let's see here. If I navigate over to the Nets, and we can see that that applied, as well as if we go back to the home screen, we can see how the NLSC forum is shown up in the upper right-hand corner. Typically, the NBA Bounce logo is shown in that placement. So that kind of goes over the gist, the very basics of how this program works. I hope this increased interest in potentially playing and purchasing NBA Bounce, as I do think it is a fun game to pick up and play. And I think with this flexibility of being able to change any texture in the game, that hopefully some really cool mods can come from this. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me via Discord at wiscard_rush. Leave a YouTube comment below, or reach out to me on the NLSC forums. Again, it's wiscard_rush. Thank you.